Good evening. Welcome to Dissect. I go by the name of Novelist.
And I go by the name of Jewel.
And of course, welcome to another evening of Dissect. Of course, do remember to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. If you are on that YouTube channel, make sure you go ahead and subscribe. That's Island Therapy on YouTube, and also TDN TV as well. All right. Our guest will be joining us very shortly. We got a very excited show for you guys. Jules, you ready?
Yeah, I'm excited. Can't wait to meet the guests.
Well, let's just bring them on right away, I guess. So, first, I guess we got to introduce the man. I guess everybody know him as the Bob. We'll call him Mr. Daryl Bob. Introduce him, bring him onto the screen. And of course, the other guest we have with us, you guys know him as the trendsetter. And some people call him, Mr. Murphy. Mr. Murphy. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good
Good
evening,
evening.
gentlemen.
It's
Hi.
nice to get
I'm
welcome
excited
guys.
to meet you both.
It's my pleasure.
Nice. So I guess we'll just have you guys introduce yourself. So we'll start with Mr. Trendsetter. Go ahead and tell the people who you are, sir. You're muted. This mic is muted. There you go. Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Good evening to the viewers of Dissect on the various platforms. I am Narrin Murphy. I go by the Calypso stage name Trendsetter, currently hold the position of treasurer on the Dominica Calypso Association. I look forward to the interactions tonight, both in terms of the discussion and the comments from the persons viewing the show tonight.
Nice.
All right.
And of course, Mr. Bob, you wanna give a short introduction of who you are? To the
Hi, good
people.
evening. Good evening to you, the hosts and your viewers and listeners. I would like to say it's a wonderful feeling being with you here on TDN Radio for the first time on video. I have had interviews in the past, which were just strictly audio, and it's my pleasure being part of the progress. I am Daryl Bobb. I am the 37th monarch of the Commonwealth of Dominica, Calypso monarch, that is. And I'm still part of the competition. Looking forward to another very healthy season in 2023. And looking forward to sharing information with you tonight as to the way forward of the Dominica Calypso Association. As I am proud to say, I am the secretary of the association as we speak. And once again, it's my pleasure, and let us share with the public as much as we can.
Nice, and definitely looking forward to talking to you guys. You guys, if you guys are watching the program and don't know who they are, these guys are not just Calypsonians. You know what I mean? These guys are they're bigger than that, and we're gonna get into that this evening. I believe we have some short clips to give you guys a little bit of, in case you heard the music before, give you a better idea of who they are, and then we're gonna get right into the nitty gritty of things, right? So let's see if we can get one of these clips ready for you guys, and we'll be back in 2 seconds. Quick 2 seconds.
Oh, but morning, Daniel, my good partner Steve, he was living well till his neighbor moved in. Now we have to leave. You want to climb up the ladder, but you living down your good principles.
You have me jamming back here.
And that was, of course, the man they called the Bob. You know what I mean? And I believe we have another clip set up as well. We might as well just get into them and let's get into the vibe. And let's show a quick clip of the trendsetter. That's the man, the trendsetter.
Yes, sir. I
So
almost didn't recognize you there.
So I got a question for the both of you guys. We want to get to know you guys quick before we get into why we're really here. This question will reach out to both of you guys. So whoever wants to go first, could go ahead. What brought you guys into Calypso? What made you choose Calypso?
Narrin, you could go first.
yeah, of course, of course. I mean, for me, always love Calypso. But that was from being in the audience. Then, as time evolved, and I started seeing guys like Dice, who nobody's, if you could recall, we were in Clockers together, start doing it.
Yes, sir.
I
Yes,
started
sir.
doing a lot of Dice songs during when my workplace would have an event. I would probably do a Dice, do a Hunter, and then in 2008, I got a song from Hunter. I gave him an idea, and from then I've been at it. It has been a fun journey to me. It it
Right.
still is a very comical part of my life. It's like an extracurricular activity, but in recent times I've seen the need to take it very serious. So from 2008 to now, I have done the quarterfinals, semifinals. I've never reached the grand finals. The only time
Right.
I reached the finals was like over last year when we had the virtual shows.
Right.
I was at the finals at that show. I'm hoping to
Mhm.
be at the real finals in 2023.
All
I
right.
have been in the art form, and at some point, let's say about 2016, about I was elected to be on the executive, and shortly thereafter, 2019, I was selected to be the treasurer, and here am I
Nice.
today, dissecting the thing.
That's just so. Bob, how what was the transition like, and why did you choose Calypso?
Well, Calypso is something that I grew up. My parents always made sure that I went to Calypso shows because I mean, especially it was the in thing um, in music in Dominica,
Right.
local music, and I would go to shows at carnival time. However, I grew up and I became a musician when I was 14 years old, and we formed a band called the Rough and Ready Band.
Right.
And maybe about maybe 10 or 12 years into the band, one of the members said that he came up with the idea that, Bob, I think you and I should try Calypso. You know, it will help the band, it will take us into a different realm and maybe boost our popularity and that sort of thing. And he was the type of person I always listened to his advice or went along with anything that knew that he wanted to do.
Right.
And I decided, yeah, let's give it a try. You know, I just felt it was like it was like nothing, you know, to do because I
Right.
already understand calypso. I grew up going to calypso shows, revering people like the Hurricane and NC and those kind of guys back in the days. And musically, the calypso just didn't have much in it that would challenge me. So I
Right.
figured, well, if that's what you want to go into, let's just give it a try. And then I wrote a song. I wrote one verse of a song, and went to the eliminations. And whilst I was backstage waiting to go on stage, a guy came in, whispered in my ear, so Bob, you have your two verses ready. I said, two verse. I mean, I thought it was one verse.
Right.
So it was the Cicero Hotel at the time. I rushed into the bathroom and I wrote another verse right there.
Wow.
Wow.
And, and then I went on stage, performed my two verses. Well, I guess to the judges flawlessly. and and then I went straight to the finals, and I have
Nice.
been in finals ever since. Won the Monarch back in 2018,
Right.
and then Virtual Monarch in or Virtual King. I'm not sure how the association really want to describe it. 2 years
Mhm.
ago, and just most of my time in the arena, I have been in the top four. I've lost count as so many times I have been first runner up and so on. So that is basically my history. That's the reason why I came. It was barely for the benefit of the band
Right.
that eventually went quiet after a few years, and we are surviving very strongly now from the Christmas album.
Yes.
But and then I became an administrative member of the association. I joined the executive years later, and I've been the secretary for a number of years now.
Right.
Just contributing, doing my thing for the benefit of Calypso and the members.
Right.
Okay.
So
Nice.
so being the secretary, what does that mean? What's your role?
Well, my role, communication is a very strong part of my role. Communication meaning um, communication with sponsors. So I write the letters on behalf of the Calypso Association. I write to any official letter that comes from the association. I'm the one composing and penning them. Obviously, after we've had discussions as to what we want to achieve as an executive. So that is my primary role. And well, obviously, stuff like ensuring that we have a record of our communications. That is also something
Mhm.
that now we do things digitally, so it's a lot easier. I have everything in a file on my computer. We can just refer to it, and making decisions. Making supportive decisions, ensuring that we do the right thing, we make the right decisions, we understand the psychology of the people we deal with, we understand the psychology of our members, and I
Mhm.
would think through things very in a creative and and I would come up with, so just like everybody else, I would contribute meaningfully in terms of ideas and dissecting things, dissect as to what the best decisions are, and I bring my experience from other boards that I am on, regional organizations as well, to the association. So it has worked, and I guess that's the reason why I've been the secretary for a couple of years now.
Nice.
Okay.
Hmm.
They probably realize that you have great skills at writing because you wrote that second verse so quickly that they weren't hesitant to put you as a secretary.
I know, right?
Well,
Yeah.
that was a secret. Nobody really, not many people know that happened. I just but I guess it just explains that when you have the knack for creativity, you have to be able to compose on the moment, on
Right.
the spur of the moment. That's really my background, and that I've been able to express as an executive member
Okay.
on the board.
Nice.
So Naryn, for you, how do you balance your both roles? I mean, and I heard a rumor. I heard a rumor before I asked that question. I heard a rumor that you write your own calypso. Is that true, Naryn?
Okay, so I have written some of my own calypso. As a matter of fact, the calypso, in dancehall, they would say the song that boss you.
Yes.
The calypso that really made persons aware that I am there in the art form, the ready-made jacket. I wrote that one all by myself. I have written a few others, some by myself, some together with Hunter. I've also worked with Pelham John Baptist, and
Right.
last year I started working with Peter Litter when we dropped the big figures.
Mm.
In
Oh,
terms of a balance, when you say balance, are you referring to being an executive member and a performer, or my work life? Which balance?
well, actually, yeah, the first two, being an executive and a performer at the same time. How do you balance it?
Yeah, it's not the easiest thing, because you have to now share yourself in two. You want to go out there and perform to the best of your ability, but at
Right.
the same time, being charged with the responsibility to govern the affairs of the association, you also have to share yourself in two. So for me, being the treasurer, I don't wait for the last minute to have my budgets and stuff prepared. I prepare all along, so I know when it's time for performance, my executive functions have already been taken care of. I put the mechanisms in place before ticketing and other critical functions like cash from the banks and whatnot. So I have found a creative way to combine the two stuff that I have to do and make it work for both sides of me.
Right.
Nice. So I wanted to know, thank you for that response, by the way, the two of you. Um, we recently, the entire world just recently went through a huge upheaval with the way we do things. How has COVID impacted Dominica's Calypso arena? How has it impacted Dominica's calypso?
Well, I can say proudly, and I'm sure Narrin will have his piece immediately after that. COVID did not necessarily impact us negatively. It just gave us the opportunity to prove that we can adapt to situations. Because when
Mm-hmm.
COVID came around, instead of not having activities, when it was okay for people to come out of their homes from lockdown and we could congregate on a certain small number, like about 20 or 25 people, we decided that we're going to have our shows virtually.
Mm-hmm.
And we had the virtual shows. That's how I became a virtual monarch. And interestingly, one of the things I really like to say about this is that we were the only one in the Caribbean who was able to have a calypso show, a calypso competition during the COVID time, during the time of lockdown when the going out was so limited and restrictive and so on. So
Right.
we were the only ones. So the only thing that the way it impacted the association was that we decided to only have one song in the competition instead of having two in the usual
Mm-hmm.
traditional way. But we only had one song to make life easier for everybody and stuff, that we would be together for less time. There are a number of reasons why we decided to have one song. For instance, the bottom line. COVID impacted the bottom line in a very interesting way because our sponsorship, it dwindled tremendously. Most people would not
Mm-hmm.
put, as much as they would put before and so on. So
Right.
that actually was part of the reason why we decided to go to one song. But
Okay.
to say it again, the Calypso Association, the Dominica Calypso Association, was able to adapt. We changed our format to suit the times, and
Mm-hmm.
that is something the association and must really be recommended for. So that is it basically. It didn't stop us. We had 2 years of virtual events, and even the Calypso tents in Dominica, they too adapted. They went virtual as well, and then the rest of the Caribbean started doing it. So Dominica remained on top as far as I'm concerned. So that's how we responded to the situation.
Okay, so you took something that was otherwise known as a negative experience and you turned it into a positive. Thank you. Naren, what about you? How do you feel about how it impacted Calypso in
Well,
Dominica?
well, being the treasurer of the association, from a financial perspective, it would have had some negative impacts. The
Mm-hmm.
positive, as Bob outlined, was the ability for us to adapt and still present calypso, encourage, motivate our guys to still
Yeah.
create songs, even if we were unable to provide them with the same remuneration packages, but still be able to push them and encourage them to have the calypso available. We learned a
Okay.
lot from that virtual experience, but the only negative was, whereas in our usual shows, especially the finals, when we would have at least 3,000 persons easily packed, we had to settle for what the protocol allowed, which was probably 100 persons in 2021. 2022, it
Mm-hmm.
was even worse, where we could
Yeah.
not even have the public being part of the show. So we had to depend largely on the revenues from streaming.
Okay.
This would have impacted some of our obligations to the banks, but having a good relationship with the financial institution, we were able to negotiate moratoriums and what have you. So we learned a lot from COVID-19. It better allow us to position ourselves for, in the event there is a future pandemic, we
Mm-hmm.
know the areas of shortcoming where we have to beef up, what we have to do to make the show even more enticing. So we welcome, I mean, we do not want COVID again because,
Yeah.
Calypsonians love to feed of the energy of the crowd.
Yes. Yes.
And compared to having two singing for 2 and 3,000 persons versus 50 persons, the energy level, I mean, if you're not strong, that can break
Mm-hmm.
you down.
Right.
But we overcome the both COVID era, the two COVID years, and we were not in the negative as a result of that either.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you
what.
for your response. Yeah. Yeah.
So So, seeing that you guys had to bend the rules of the traditional rules, and for instance, having 2 rounds, are you guys gonna go back to the traditional rules, or is it gonna remain the same, or maybe even change some stuff up? What can the
Yeah,
people expect?
yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, we have already launched that the Calypso Association will be hosting a two-round competition in 2023.
Right,
So that is already established. We are moving back to the traditional format of the show,
right,
and to allow the crowds back in again, because Dominica is fully open now, just like the rest of the Caribbean. We just had a very, very successful World Creole Music Festival season, and so on. So the Calypso Association, we're all part of it, and Calypso is all part and parcel of our culture. Yes, we are moving back to the two-round competition.
okay.
Okay.
Oh, I got a three-way kind of question. Three-way because I believe well, I want to say last year, but it's really this year. This year Tasha was the monarch, right? The queen, right? And I believe there was the crowd a little bit of people in there. Like, am I correct, right?
We were still virtual. We're still virtual.
Mhm.
Okay, but you
But
guys
she
allowed
won
people,
she won the virtual competition, and we were still limited to a certain number of persons. Was it 99 people, Narrin?
Okay.
Yeah, well,
oh,
well, this year, Bob, we were not even allowed to have patrons. The
Yeah.
numbers we were given were basically the artists, support staff, and
Yeah.
of course, I mean, you had persons who assisted calypsonians on stage. But 2022, we really had no crowd. We had
at
no
all.
crowd.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so which draws me to my question, because so in these 2 years, I believe Bob, you won one, and Tasha was the other, right?
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
So, does that make 2023, since we're going back to the original, um, back to what it was? Does that still make, I believe, Jadi does he have to stand for his crown, or is it Tasha
Yes.
in that place? So
Yes.
Jadi
Yes.
is back.
Yes. JD will be defending. His name is JD. He
JD,
will be
okay,
he will be defending his 2019 crown
right,
in 2023.
2020. 2020.
2020, right?
right,
2020. He'll be
Yeah.
defending his 2020 crown in 2023.
okay.
Okay.
2023. Oh, damn. I thought
Because
COVID was.
basically, what we did, guys, was we decided, JD won 2020,
Hmm,
2021 and 20, under a two-run competition. 2021, we were hoping by 2022 we would have returned to the two-run competition. So we
right,
felt, in as much as we cannot allow for the two-run competition because it was not economically viable, we
right,
opted to suspend the competition, the two-run competition, until when we could return to what we normally did. So JD
Okay.
basically is maybe the king that has reigned the longest without having to defend his crown
competition.
on an annual basis.
By
So
default.
he got a buy, then he got a second buy. But
Right.
come
Mhm.
2023, come 2023, the association had already decided, well, jump high, jump low, COVID or not,
Right.
cholera, any type of sickness you would have,
Hilarious.
that crown, that crown was going to be defended.
Yeah.
Right.
But we have seen signs the world has opened up, and
Yeah.
so has Dominica, and we are excited about going back to our two-round competition where maybe Bob or myself may just defeat JD.
Hmm.
Listen to this fighting word.
You put a smile on Bob's face.
No, but I mean, the matter is,
So
yeah.
we'll
Yes.
remind the viewers we are talking to the man trendsetter, or Mr. Narrin Murthy, and of course Daryl Bob from the Dominica Calypso Association. And of course, if you are watching us on YouTube or Facebook, go ahead and make sure you subscribe to that. We have a number that passes at the bottom of the screen. You guys can text, WhatsApp, and ask some questions if you like as well. So definitely be part of the program. Um, yeah, Jules, take it away.
Yeah, no, I know. Well, we have the treasurer here, and I'm sure people are wondering about this question. How supportive is the private and public sector when it comes to sponsorship for various shows? I know you just went through a different type of situation where you had to kind of generate money or kind of ration your money. Um, how is the private and public sector supportive in sponsorship wise?
Okay. I have been taught to be appreciative of small mercies, whatever amount is given. So we are appreciative of the sponsorship from the corporate society. However,
Mhm,
there is always room for improvement, and that's why we
Okay.
continue to reach out to other persons to buy into the idea that your contribution will really help sustain something that is dear to us, which is the Calypso art form, which spans several decades. So,
mhm,
yes, we may not be at the sponsorship level that we would like, but we are grateful to those who have come on board. We have had some sponsors for the last 10, 15 years that have been faithful to us. We have our headline
mhm,
sponsors, Josephine Gabriel, Flo Dominica. I mean, words cannot express our appreciation that year after year,
mhm,
even when they two faced trying times with COVID 19. They did not turn their back on us. Yes, we have
right,
to understand that it would not be at the same level, but they still made something available to us. So we continue to appeal to the other sponsor corporate entities out there. As little as it is, nothing is too little. Everything can make a difference. So, yes, in terms of the corporate community, they have supported Calypso. I am
mhm,
now putting out the challenge out there right now that we would want more support so we can have a bigger and even a better show come 2023.
okay. So now that you've just shared that information with us, how how difficult has it been for the association to generate sponsorship? Has it been difficult?
Well, it has not been totally difficult. It has had its challenges. As I said, we would like to appeal to more sponsors, but we have some good, faithful sponsors. As little as it is, annually, we know we can bank on them.
Okay.
I listed the two headline sponsors, but there are others players who annually, and there are some new ones that are coming on board who,
Right.
from the hotel industries and what have you. So we
Okay.
continue to push and push because the Calypso art form is really there to be the voice of the nation.
Right.
And it is not easy running these ventures. It costs a lot, and as a
Mm-hmm.
result, from the gate alone is not sufficient. So we continue to reach out and make this appeal to the corporate community to help the art form, help sustain the art form. Chip in 10,000 or 5,000, whatever is doable for you. Make Calypso be part of your annual budget.
Okay.
Mm.
Can you share with, I guess, either now or at the end of the show, maybe share with the listeners as to how they can become sponsors for the association? I think that's important because some people may want to be a sponsor or to support and they don't know how to. So if you can share that information, if you are privy to do that now or later at the end of the show, you're welcome to.
I think it's pretty easy. We can just mention it now and mention it again. Calypso Association is online. We have a Facebook page. You could just reach out to us at on our Facebook, right?
Okay,
To send us a message, express your interest, and we'll follow up immediately.
awesome. Thank you.
And I believe elimination is gonna start as soon
On the
as
17th.
on the 17th of next month, right?
That's right.
So, how many I guess people could enter the competition for elimination?
Well, the thing is, there's no limit as to the number of people that can enter. What we do
Okay.
is that we observe the numbers by a certain date because you have to manage it. That's why there's an executive to manage those things because the
Right.
Calypsonians they have to be in early enough so that they can have practice sessions. we can't have registrations open until the competition, and that
Right.
used to happen. And the disadvantages that we were ending up with like 60 something to 70 members um, to compete on one night for four judges to select 12 people,
Right.
and that is because the gate has been open for too long and too wide, you know.
Right.
So we're hoping this year we can improve that a lot, because what it does is that it causes us to be responsible for a very long elimination show. I mean, the
Hmm.
show could start at 8 o'clock, and then people could be on stage still at 1 o'clock, and then the same four judges. And you can't even change the judges, because when you're judging an event, you have to judge everybody against each other.
Right.
So from the start to finish, and that's one of the things. So we're hoping that Calypsonians can register early,
Hmm.
and so we know definitely, okay, there's a satisfactory figure that we can now take to the band with the music, if the music is ready, obviously,
Right.
and that we can move forward, because that's very important that every Calypsonian gets enough time to prepare a good show.
Right.
The other thing is that the Calypsonians themselves. Uh, what is happening now? I think there are one or two persons complain about that. We're having a challenge now, because Dominica is now in the middle of a snap election,
Hmm.
preparation for a snap election. The campaign is heavy, right? Getting even heavier tonight. It stepped
Right.
up pretty much, and Calypso really feeds off social issues. And
Yes.
social issues obviously include political issues. So
Right.
Right.
now that we are in the middle of a snap election, guys may have to change their topic. Guys may have to, rethink what they're going to sing. Maybe tweak their songs a bit.
Right.
So it's definitely a little challenge there. So now you find some people may not come to register immediately, because
Hmm.
they say, "Whoa, boy, that song I have there, that might not be relevant by the 6th
Right.
of December." And then eliminations is the 17th. So that is
Right.
one of the challenges that we have to deal with. But
Okay.
whilst I'm at it, I also want to mention another challenge that to add to what Narrin said earlier, in terms of your question concerning the sponsorship level and what's flowing in. The economic situation in certain parts of the Caribbean, especially Dominica, is,
Mhm.
the sponsorship is a reflection of that.
Right.
And we know it has dwindled. The economic situation has dwindled tremendously, because our sponsorship has dwindled.
Mhm.
Even mega companies, big companies in Dominica that used to give so much, can't give as much as. And you find certain companies, they want to compensate with kind. They want to give you kind, and whereas what you really need to run the event is not as much kind, but you need cash. So that
Yes.
is one of the things I just wanted to add to what Naryn said. But we are looking forward to a healthy season anyway, and we will do whatever we have to do, whether we have to shift the show to another night to accommodate persons and so on. But the elections thing in Dominica right now is definitely something that we have our eyes on, and will affect our decision making processes as we move forward.
Great. Thank you for
Oh,
that.
that's quite interesting. I guess it's a good thing you're a good you're a quick writer. So-
Thank you.
Do you Bob, do you write proposals as well? Like to
Yes.
request or to
Yes.
inquire about sponsorship?
Yes.
And that's okay.
Yes, most definitely. We must do that. You must write to the organizations. Any office that's communicating with another office has to do so in writing.
Mm-hmm.
And the talk is just basically to put things together, and then it's written again where a contract
Right.
is put
Right.
established. So
Okay.
yeah. And most of the proposals are in. And as we go along, there one or two new people are identified, and we write to them as we go along. One or two people express interest, we write to them again. So we really wish that we would get as much sponsors as we get Calypsonians coming in.
Have you ever thought of I just have you ever thought of asking for sponsorship abroad from Dominicans who have traveled abroad and that are watching the show and eager to participate? Have you ever thought about asking for sponsorship from abroad?
Yes, we have, but it's not something that we have really taken seriously. But right now, we have no choice to actually consider that very strongly
Mm-hmm.
right now, because right now business has transformed so much. There are a lot
Mm-hmm.
of companies that exist online right now. So there's definitely a very captive market out there of opportunities that we can tap into. So thank you for raising it, but it has
Mhm.
crossed our minds, and it's something that we need to sit down and actually identify those companies, and hopefully with the help of the diaspora to identify them and bring them in. Because now that we are virtual, we're not only
Yeah,
selling a physical show for people to walk into the gates. You
right.
can now sit at your home and watch. And if there's
Yeah,
a company that does not exist in Dominica, I'm sure they will see the value in advertising on our event across our screen as we perform, as the show is in progress, that they will benefit from, because we you can watch the show from anywhere in the world right now.
yeah, yeah. I agree with you. Me, I'm not of Dominican heritage, but I think this would my background is Trinidadian and Grenadian, but I think that bringing Dominica to the world in this way and asking for sponsorship from other people will help to support that venture for
And
sure.
we'll definitely be amenable to your assistance as well. So this is where it starts.
For sure. Yeah.
So what can people in the diaspora or even just patrons expect for 2023? I mean, coming back after 2 years, I'm pretty sure the people on the island is going to be excited. But for the people traveling in, what can they expect?
Hmm.
Narrin?
Well, as we indicated, we are going back to our two-round competition. Persons love the start of the Calypso season, which is the elimination, where I
Hmm.
mean it's a fun show. Yes, it can be long and lengthy, but there's a lot of kicks, a lot of entertainment. So persons really look out for the elimination.
Right,
One of the things I think this year, Bob, we're going to try our best to accomplish is this long-awaited Clash of the Tens, Clash of the Titans, the Stardom, the Mascom Tent, to
mm,
finally have that clash going on. I think being off for 2 years, we should come back with a
right,
bang. And this is one of the areas I believe we should push aggressively, of course, with the applicable sponsorship, which we will now get from the diaspora as well. That should
right.
allow us to see the clash of the tents, which persons are longing for. Persons from the Mascam, the Stardom tent. It would be nice that
But that
each
would be
tent can
nice.
pick their 10 or their 5 or the whatever amount, and we go
Right.
tete a tete, head to head,
Okay, so
and
so so
on to
what?
the grand finals.
Yeah, so what would be the outcome of that though? Let's just use, I guess, Joel and I, for instance, coming from two different tents, and she comes up on top. Then what's the outcome of that? It's just the crown
Well,
for.
you will have the honor of knowing in the first ever Clash of the Tent, your tent came out on top, and that is something you can boast because it has never happened before, and if it
That's
can
true.
happen this time, you would have that accomplishment. When you look back at when history is written, it would be reflecting you, your tent, and in 2023 was crowned the champ the, of the Clash of the Tent.
Right.
And more
This and
so
again
the
the
people.
corporate community.
Go ahead.
No, I was saying again that is more even where the corporate community, both here and overseas, would be expected to play a critical role to
Right.
help entice the offering, to make it even more attractive for
Hmm.
both tents to come together because it's always at a cost. It's not something that can be done freely. So if we can get the support, we can add that added element to the season. So it won't just be the elimination quarters, semis, finals. We can look forward to this mammoth, this big clash of the 10. Bob in one corner, trendsetter over there, and we going at it, you know?
Yeah. But
Hmm.
and what I wanted to add that is the intention of this is really to have bring more calypso, the more of the calypso product.
Right. Oh,
It's
yes.
probably somebody's probably trying to contact
Can't hear
him
that. Yeah.
this time.
You
I
know.
have a question about, I'm not sure how it works, but have you ever thought about involving, or is it already happening, involving maybe high school competitions within or is that not within the scope of the association to involve?
Okay, so at present we have the Junior Monarch Calypso competition, which is basically young calypsonians from the various schools competing annually, and the monarch, a junior monarch, is crowned. We have seen persons coming from the junior monarch and doing magnificent things in the senior competition. Look at Dice,
Mhm.
for example. Nobody's
Mhm.
Dice sang Monarch, and Dice came into the senior competition and has done wonderful works. So we
Yep.
are here
Mhm.
to really play that father role, provide as much support as possible to the younger generation, because those of us in the senior competition, our bones will get weary, we will get rheumatism, we will have to probably sit on our rocking chair and watch. We encourage the younger generation from the primary
Yes.
schools, the secondary
Right.
schools, to take
Yes.
the art form very seriously. I believe
Yeah.
Calypso should be on the curricula of all schools in Dominica. There
Yeah.
should be, if it's every Friday. I remember when going to school in music, on a Friday, you would have somebody come in and play. If it's a little calypso, if it's something, that should be encouraged at the schools, so that as the generation passes on, the younger ones can appreciate the calypso
Yeah.
as well.
I'm glad you said that. That's where I was going, to keep the generations knowing about calypso and keeping the longevity of the art form. So yeah, that's where I was going with that.
And what I was trying to say before I got cut off just a moment ago
Right.
is that the intention of having the Clash of the Tent is basically, it's really to bring more of the calypso product to the people. You know, people want more calypso. It's not just the competitions.
Right.
They want more of the tents. They want more of the tents coming together. And that has been a cry for a very long time. And we believe that having the Clash of the Tent this year will satisfy a lot of people, because calypso needs to be more present in the calypso season, in the carnival season rather, and
Right.
especially now that there are influx of other genres that are very very much celebrated during carnival time.
Hmm.
Something
Mhm.
that I am not necessarily proud to say, but it's happening anyway. And the DJs are responsible. There are a number of people who are responsible. The Calypso Association has its own responsibility to come up with these ideas to make sure that Calypso is still always, every week there's some major event related to Calypso happening. And that's the idea of bringing in the tent. It's not necessarily to make money or for somebody to win. Whatever happens naturally happens, but it's more to bring more Calypso to the people who have been begging for it for a long time. And we are hoping that both tents will see it that way. Although I am part of a tent, and I know we have every year we've been proposing to have the Clash of the Tents. I'm just hoping that this year both tents can be in accord this time, and we're hoping that the Calypso Association and Narrin obviously has already alluded to that, we would help to manage and to help that process to happen.
I think that was a wonderful idea, bringing that into the calypso. To be quite honest, I think it brings another level of excitement as well, right?
Yeah.
So I actually hope that does work out. Um, I got I got a question. I don't really want to call it unfair, but I'm a calypso fan myself, and I've been listening to calypso ever since I guess I was born. um, and there's a lot of calypso songs that comes out during carnival. That's it's high tempoed, and the energy is like any other booyah or soca song. But after calypso season, we don't hear those songs. What do you think the problem or why is it that the DJ figure carnival is done and calypso should be done as well? I guess that's a question for anyone. You guys want to go for it?
I'll just take part of it, just what I think. I think we have an issue in Dominica and maybe the rest of the Caribbean where Calypso is just too seasonal. It's too seasonal. Calypso, we call it the voice of the people, and yet
Right.
still it is very seasonal. And the people want their issues to be heard all year round. And
Mhm.
then we have religious aspects coming into play where our culture is concerned. For instance, when Lent comes about, it had always been traditional that when Lent happens, or when Lent begins immediately after Carnival, Ash Wednesday is the first day of Lent.
Hmm.
There are songs that are just taken off the airwaves.
Right.
That I think is slowly, slowly, slowly becoming a thing of the past, but not fast enough. Because
Right.
there are a lot of very good songs that should be played during Lent. For instance, for years I sang spiritual calypsos too,
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's I'll tell you frankly, I think it's hypocritical for us to look at calypso as a thing that should be taboo during Lent.
Mm-hmm.
When we need to be, just because it's calypso, but when we look at calypso, the content is what really matters. I mean, we don't necessarily have to play so much of the love songs during Lent, but there are
Right.
really deep songs that can play. There are songs that mean something to the people, and they should
Fact.
hear and be reminded of their situation during Lent.
Right.
I don't see why Lent should necessarily take that away. So that is the first issue I think that where songs get this. No, no. By the time Lent is over, which is 40 days, then you have a lot of these songs that have just kind of lost their potency, and people just move on to something different.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly, I never stop hearing soca during Lent though.
No.
I don't think I've ever heard any other genre of music really stop during Lent, but calypso,
Yeah.
which is
Hmm.
And I
it's
think it
kind
is the consciousness of our people. I mean, the calypso is played by the various radio station
of
outside
right.
of DBS has a steady program. Kyrie does it as well on a Saturday, but we need to have more of that, more of these stations understanding
Right.
the importance of calypso and dedicating time on their airwave for
Right.
calypso.
Well, I can tell you, TDN radio actually they never stop playing calypso all year round. So that's definitely one of them as well. But you definitely have to keep the art form alive. People have to hear it, right? So I guess
Sure.
it's just trying to take people off that whole traditional vibe and bring them into a whole new world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, in North America, we don't stop playing it. It's all year round. It's not, I think what happens is when people migrate, they miss their culture and they appreciate
Yeah,
it more. That's
it's
probably
different
what
up
it
here. Yeah,
is. So
for
all
sure.
year round, we hear calypso, we hear soca. It doesn't end when the season ends.
Right.
So unfortunately,
Like
we need to
like
fix that.
like for instance, Bob, like you mentioned the rough and ready Christmas thing. And I can say for myself, when I'm in Dominica, I'll hear maybe a little bit more parang, like more the Trini Christmas songs. But when I'm out here in Canada, I walk through the flea market, I'm hearing rough and ready.
That's the thing
So
about music, and it's territories. For some reason, you hear more local
yeah,
music, other territories, and you hear less of it in its own where it actually came
in the
from.
phone is yep,
I don't know
yep.
why. It's a reality.
Hmm.
I guess that's one of the reasons for Calypso not being played after Carnival.
I think the Lent thing just slows it down tremendously, too much, and by the time
Right,
Lent is over, people have lost the interest. Another hit song from some other genre. But reggae, dancehall, and soca music never stops playing for some reason. I hope it's a good reason. But calypso
mhm,
needs to be heard. And there are a lot of
right,
spiritual calypsos. I sang songs like, When the Power of Love Overcomes, Swim Close to the Rock, and those things. You don't hear those things during Lent.
Mhm.
Um, Calypso just shut
right.
down because it's Calypso.
Well, you are on the committee. You're on the association. You need to fight back. Is
Well,
there
even
not
though
something that
mentioning
you
it
can
now
do?
is fighting back.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Um,
True.
Navi, at this time, do you want to take some questions from the viewers? I see a few questions popping up. And so we have people watching on V streams, we have people watching on YouTube, Facebook, and on other platforms. So if we can have some of the questions just pop up on the screen so we can have the guests answer the questions.
Yes.
Um, this
Chocho.
is from Choco.
Choco.
Will there still be, or Choco, will there still be pay-per-view through, though you're going back to norm? Okay, will there still be pay-per-view, though you're going back to norm?
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes, most definitely. As a matter of fact, we have always had pay-per-view running alongside the in-house attendance. So
Right.
we're not going to move away from that because we have to also serve the persons out there in the diaspora, the persons who probably cannot physically attend the show. What we're going to
Hmm.
aim to do is to make that offering even more attractive in 2023. So yes, Choco, is it Choco Listo or
Choco or
Choco?
Choco? Choco?
Or Choco, Choco, yes, you will get your pay-per-view offerings from the Dominica Calypso Association.
All right,
Thank
I mean,
let's just call it Miss Thomas to be thing.
you. Miss
What?
Thomas. Here is
Okay.
one from Nigel.
all right.
What should the Calypso patrons expect for 2023? Anything new? So we talked a lot
Pretty
about
much
new things.
that.
Is there anything else you'd like to show or share?
By
New,
and
what's new?
large, I mean, Calypso is a competition, so there's not so much new you can probably do in terms of
Right.
that offering, but we
Hmm.
aim to provide even more exciting and enjoyable songs.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and the competition between the two
Trends.
yeah, it would definitely be something new as well. So something new.
Yes.
All right.
Here's another
Um.
question.
Mhm. Go ahead.
What would you say about you guys not being part of the WCMF?
World Creole Music Festival.
Well, okay.
All right. Well, Bob, I think I will allow Bob. I would just say it was just rather unfortunate.
All right.
Calypso is the biggest show after World Creole Music Festival, and I
Hmm.
think it is downright insulting to not have Calypso on the festival. In this particular case, we were actually invited,
Right.
a certain amount of guys who selected, including King Bob, and at the latter end, that decision was changed. That, in my opinion,
Hmm.
was a disrespect to the art form.
Right.
Hmm.
Hmm. Is it
Narina
you?
said it. Narina said it well.
Okay.
I was gonna ask you a question, but it could be a little bit controversial. Are
Short,
you
short
able
Go
and
to
ahead.
sweet.
grieve? Are you able to grieve something like that?
Are you able to?
Great. Well,
Grieve.
I mean,
Bob
No,
smiled.
I wouldn't say grieve. I mean, it's just that the Calypso, the World Creole Music Festival is now in its 22nd year, and
Right.
Calypso has been represented on the festival in a couple of times during that 2022 years. What we really want people to understand, especially the government and the organizers, is that Calypso should be an integral part of the World Creole Music Festival for two reasons. One, it is Dominica's, it's a big part of Dominica's culture.
Right.
And the World Creole Music Festival is the purpose of it should be to create a platform for Dominica music and musicians to showcase themselves. That is one of the things that it should, because that's where we are from.
Right.
If the festival was in Canada, there would be Canadian artists on there most definitely. Wherever it is,
Right.
the government using the taxpayers' money to bring this thing to the world, you have to get your taxpayers themselves to benefit from it.
Yeah.
So
Of course.
that is one of the things. And then the other thing is a lot of people don't realize that when the festival first came about, it was to promote Kada's music, and they were about to call it the World Kada's music, something with Kadas in it, and they realized no, they have to go broad and call it World Creole.
Right.
Now, if Kadas
Right.
was the purpose that actually the genre of music that actually inspired a festival,
Hmm.
then you should realize that the history of Kadas, Calypso influenced Kadas. That is why Kadas is really called Kadas Lipso. So there
Right.
was
Right.
Calypso first, and the guys played Calypso and Compa and so on, and it became a special product that became Kadas. So Calypso is a big influencer of Kadas, which Kadas it actually brought about the inspiration for the festival. So
Mm-hmm.
Calypso
Right.
should be represented, and that is our argument. That is one of our
Mm-hmm.
arguments, apart from it being, it represents a large portion of the Dominican artists. It should be on there because it's our thing. It's our culture.
Yeah.
And we all know the reason why the politicians are trying their best to avoid having um calypso is because of the calypsos, and then they lash a lot of political issues. Very, very
Yes.
Mm,
poignant. They're very, it's very salty when it comes to the political issues. But there are those that are not political at all. And
Right.
also, one of the things I would like the organizers to understand is that you have the right to tell an artist what song you want played on your show.
mm-hmm.
Of
You
course.
understand?
Of
That
course.
is an official thing in the industry. If I'm promoting a vegetarian festival, vegan life, that is what the festival is about. I'm not going to invite somebody who's promoting KFC or ham for Christmas. So
Yeah.
you can, if there's a guy who sings that way, then he cannot be on the show. But if he has two songs, one promoting
Right.
healthy living and one, I will tell you, I'm inviting you, I'm going to pay you to perform that song. So artists, promoters,
Right.
sorry, have that right that they don't exercise. They just figure because you hire Bob, Bob is going to sing something that the prime minister may not like, which is, really poor to think, not knowing the industry well enough. So
Yeah.
we are hoping that the Calypso Association will keep the fight going and try to
Right.
keep the dialogue with the thing, because they were forced, after having that fallout with not having us on the main stage, they were forced to include some other artists in the forecourt, which worked out very, very well. As a matter of fact, there are still people on
Right.
social media asking for them to continue that. So it means that Calypso gave a good account of itself. It added value to the show, because
Okay.
outside there was
Right.
another festival in the forecourt, and
Right. Right.
which worked out perfectly. So we're hoping that, okay, Calypso now has a foot in, and with our negotiations and massaging the relationship between us and the festival committee, then things will continue. As long as there's an executive, the executive have to remain committed to doing that.
Okay.
Right. Well, let's hope something works out between you guys and the World Creole Festival committee. I know you guys got to go shortly,
Mm-hmm.
um, but we have this thing we call quick hitters, and we just ask the quick random questions and see how you feel about it. I hope you guys are up to the question. It's not nothing challenging, nothing personal. Um, One of the questions I have is about Calypso. So if I was to mention the name, I guess Narrin, I'll go with you. If I was to mention the name
Hmm.
Mighty Spider to you with Calypso, what does that mean? That
Mighty
name,
Spider,
what
that is, I would say, a veteran in the Calypso art form, a founder, a person who had some hard hitting songs. We going down slowly, Viva, and several songs. Back in the days when we were kids, we would hear about the Mighty Spider.
yes. Uh,
Okay.
Bob, I guess I'll ask you the same question.
Okay. Yes, the Mighty Spider, who has passed a few years now, remains an icon in the
Right.
Dominic Calypso landscape. Spider will never disappear. He will live forever. And that is
Hmm.
because of the level of contribution that he made to Calypso back in the years. He bridged the gap between Calypso and politics and the people. And it was
Right.
so beautiful in his time. I will always go back to his time, because back in the days, there wasn't that heavy division between among the parties,
Right.
in the political parties. And
Hmm.
and they all enjoyed, everybody enjoyed Spider's songs. And he sang against freedom, then he sang against the Labour Party, and he was just very diverse, and the people received him. And that is what we are asking our people to remember, that Calypso is the voice of the people. When something is not right, expect the Calypsonian to sing about it. That is the
Right.
raison d'etre for Calypso. Calypso is something, is a culture that was born on the slave plantation, where
Hmm.
people sang in the night to free up their minds. They sang and they drank their little rum, and they danced around the fire, and they sang in a tongue. They masked what they were saying so that the master doesn't understand, but they were singing about the master. So it's the same thing as happening now. If you look at the
Right.
politics, the government being the master and the people on the ground, so you can't take that thing away from Calypso. We're just asking people to understand how the culture became what it is. and it has to live on. That's all.
Wow.
And Spider really demonstrated that. Seriously, he really did.
Yes. Nice.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure having you on Dissect. I learned so much. We learned so much, and I'm sure the viewers learned so
Oh
much
yeah.
about what it means to be on the Calypso Association of Dominica. Thank you for your time. Just want to remind the viewers that they can become a sponsor by following the association and also tune in to Dissect every Saturday at 7 p.m. Um,
Yeah.
Navi,
All right.
any closing remarks?
No, that's it. Thank you, gentlemen. I don't know if you guys want to touch on anything before you guys leave. If you guys want to shout out to anybody or anything before you guys leave, and that's about it.
All right.
So I
Well,
guess
I want to say thanks for the opportunity to dissect, to allow us, myself and Bob. Bob will speak for himself, but me, to be able to come here and talk the thing, dissect the calypso to the best of our ability. We are returning. We are returning. We are returning with a bang. Calypso is ours. If you must have an event, let's try to respect the night of the Calypso finals. It's a heritage. It's a cultural event. Let's all support it. Calypso has been there in the low days, the high days. We have
right.
to support it and embrace it. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I say good evening to my other executive members who are also logged in and tuned into this program. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to try to reinvent the wheel. Narina said it pretty well. Just to
Hmm.
remind you that Calypso is back, and we are hoping to put on a very interesting show, and also to strengthen the relationship between our online customers and viewers,
Right.
whatever we want to describe them as. We also would like to continue or to begin to massage the relationship between us and Dissect Radio and other organizations, similar organizations, so that we can make the transition, or maybe not the transition, but an improvement of our relationship with the virtual public
Right.
and Calypso and the Dominican culture and so on. So
Yes.
that's one of the things we're hoping that this is maybe the first is if going to be the first interview for the season, and the
Right.
season opens really soon. And we're hoping to have more talks with you. I'm sure there are other members of the association that you would like to interface with,
Oh
and we're
yes.
looking forward to that kind of interaction because Calypso is very important to our social health.
Right.
Thank you.
So we'll definitely be continuing Calypso talk. Actually, next week we have a former Calypso king here. So it's going to continue for a little while, and hopefully in the near future we could get you guys back here again because I noticed this conversation was going deeper, and I actually love where it was going.
Yes.
But time is of the essence, so I am hoping that we could get you guys back here, even after the Calypso season, right? And try to keep the Calypso vibes
Yeah.
alive as well. So thank you, gentlemen, for joining us this evening, and I learned a lot tonight about Calypso.
Nice.
You know, nice. All right,
Thank
so
you.
there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The man Bob, and of course the man Trendsetter, um, sitting with us tonight. That was educational. I like that.
Yeah.
You had fun tonight.
I did. I really learned a lot about Dominican calypso and what goes on behind the scenes.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. Like I said, I grew up knowing calypso since I was youth, but you only hear the songs, right? And to hear what goes on behind, and even a little bit history when Bob was going deep with it. It kind of
Mhm.
sparked an idea in my head. It's like, yeah, we definitely need to talk some history calypso here. So
Yes.
Um, yeah. So you guys are watching on YouTube. Go ahead and please subscribe to the channel. It's free, so you just got to subscribe to the channel. Tell a friend to tell a friend where you're watching this program. If you're watching on TDN or you're watching on V Streams, you're watching on Dissecting on Facebook, you're watching on Islands Therapy on Facebook or Island Therapy on YouTube. Go ahead and
Mhm.
join the committee and be part of the family. Right? So that was good.
That
next
was great.
week.
Yes,
Yeah.
same place, same time, same Dissect channel.
Yeah. So stay tuned for, I guess, the video for next week's guest right here, and we will see you guys. You guys have a blessed week and a blessed weekend. I'm Novelist.
And I'm Jewel. Take care.
Bless.
Greetings, listeners and viewers. This is Merlin the Wizard St. Hilaire, former Calypso King of Dominica. Please join me and the host of the program Dissect on Saturday, November 26th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard. See you then. See you then.